Hey everybody, El Charisse. I'm the host of the Speaking Tongues podcast, and Speaking Tongues is a podcast celebrating language and culture all over the world. And so I'm making this video today, which is an FAQ, because after 5 years of doing this podcast, I've got a lot of questions that you guys ask me, and I get them all the time. And so I thought, let's make this video and we'll tackle these questions one by one. Now, before I get started, make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure that you watch this video all the way to the end, but make sure that you're subscribed if you love language, if you love culture, if you love food from all over the world, because we talk about all of that here. Okay, so let's get into this FAQ. One question that I get a lot is, how many languages do you speak? And I think that because I do a podcast about language from all over the world, that there's an assumption that some people have that maybe I am a polyglot or a hyper polyglot. But the truth is that I speak English. I also speak French, and I speak Italian, and I speak Spanish. Now, there's a big old asterisk next to that because I'm not fluent in any of those. My journey with French, my journey with Italian, these are long journeys that I've had almost half my life at this point. I have had an even longer journey actually with Spanish if you take junior high school, elementary school actually. Elementary school when I started learning Spanish. I haven't achieved fluency in any of them. Now I study French weekly at this point. I'm taking a little bit of a break with Italian. Italian is my strongest language, so from time to time, I take a little break from Italian so that I can focus on French, and I'm really not as strong as I need to be in French, but I'm getting better. Comprehension is high, my reading ability is high. Speaking and writing are the ones that I am working on in all of those. In the past, I've dabbled in other languages, and I've had languages that I've studied and I've since put aside. So a big one is Latin. I studied Latin for 4 years. I still love Latin. I still rely a lot on Latin when it comes to French, Italian, and Spanish. I also played around with Brazilian Portuguese here and there. I still want to learn Brazilian Portuguese because I want to go to Brazil very badly someday, and I want to know the basics. Arabic is on that list, which was really difficult for me, trying to self-study Arabic. I really need to find a teacher. I still want to learn Arabic because I think it's such a beautiful language. German came into my life during the lockdown in 2020, and I didn't stick with German at all. I'm sorry to my German speakers out there. Greek was a part of my life around the same time that Latin was, both ancient and modern Greek, and I don't remember much Greek aside from several greetings, tikanis. isiZulu is the most recent language that I've tried and I've taken a chance to learn a little bit of. And I love isiZulu. It's such a beautiful language. It's such a beautiful language. And when you're like me and you listen to South African music and you're listening to DJ Maphorisa and you're listening to Amapiano music, you hear a lot of isiZulu sprinkled in some songs. And then on Netflix, there's so many South African films there. So there have been times where I've heard bits and pieces of the Zulu language that I've already learned, the very basics like greetings and names of things and etc. But I'm gonna get back to that. And honestly, if you are thinking of learning Zulu, isiZulu, you have to take classes with Tando. I'm gonna leave her link in the description box for this video because she's phenomenal and the teachers that she works with are incredible as well. So I think that's about 7 languages altogether, maybe 8. But currently, right now, French, Italian, and Spanish are my main ones. Another question that I get asked frequently is how I find guests for the show. How do you find guests for the show? And over the years, it has varied. I would say that majority of my podcast guests come from Instagram. Occasionally, I will have people pitch themselves to me, and I'll be honest, that's not my favorite way to find guests. I have spoken to people who have pitched themselves to me. They've been on the show and they've been terrific. All of my guests have been incredible. Not my favorite thing though. And maybe I can make a separate video about that and like why I don't really love it. And then I think also I've had former guests actually suggest future guests to me, and that's happened quite a bit of time. And I always enjoy when that happens because, you know, an endorsement from a former guest who's already been through my particular recording process is really helpful because it means that they kind of believe in what I'm doing and they believe in the conversation that we're having. So it's always very helpful to me when a former guest wants to recommend someone else to talk on the show. But going into the next year of doing this show, doing this podcast, I think I need to find a way of like vetting guests because I do have people who come and DM me or message me, I want to be on the show. I want to be on the show. That doesn't work for me. FYI, that doesn't work for me. So I need to find a better way to communicate the kind of guest that I'm looking for on the show. And I think I will do that in a separate video. Another question I get a lot is, have you done XYZ language on the podcast? So I will say right now, we've talked about 130 languages on the podcast over the last 5 years. We have a number of repeats on the show, which I'm always happy for repeating a language because everybody's story is different. Everybody comes to a language in a different way. I'm always happy to have a language debut for the first time on the podcast. And I've been doing this for 5 years. And there are some languages that maybe I spoke about in the first or second year that I haven't spoken about since. But a lot of times what I notice happens is that people message me and they say, well, I noticed you haven't talked about Polish. And this actually happened once. I noticed you haven't spoken about Polish. And I actually was able to forward 2 episodes to this person where I did speak about Polish. And so I think because of the deep catalog that I have with the show and the big back catalog that I have for the show, I don't think people are always going back to look and see what we talked about previously, which is okay. It's not all about me. I don't expect anyone to do a deep dive on the 170 some odd episodes that we've done so far. But it's always very funny when people do that because the more that people have sent me, oh, well, you haven't spoken about Gullah Geechee. I had gotten that recently and I had to forward that episode to the person who asked. Haitian Creole. Yes, we've had a few Haitian Creole episodes. It's particularly a lot of the widely spoken languages in the world, with few exceptions. I think that we've covered a considerable amount of them. There's still a few outliers that I haven't been able to find the right people to have these conversations about. And that's okay because it'll come. That will happen eventually. But yes, I do get that question a lot. And to people who want to come and ask me if I've done a specific language or particular language, my advice would be take a look through what's already there. And then if you don't see what's there, then come and ask me. Because otherwise, if I've already done it, I'm going to send you the episode right away. And if that happens, I hope you listen to it because chances are it was a really good conversation. I get this question a lot from just about everybody who I talk to about speaking tongues. When did you or why did you get so interested in language and culture? And my response is always the same. I've always been interested in language and culture. I grew up in New York City, which is culturally probably the most diverse city in the U.S., one of the most diverse cities probably in the world. Maybe not in the top 10, but definitely very diverse city in the world. I grew up looking at a globe. I grew up with my grandfather giving me National Geographic. I grew up with a grandmother who had traveled to 5 continents, and I watched her travel all over the world when I was very young. So I've always been very interested in the world. I've always been very interested in where people come from and what people are doing differently in other parts of the world. And I think reading maps, looking at atlases and globes, I've always been very curious about people around me. I've been traveling since I was months old, with my family to the Bahamas, where my mom's family is from. And I've been in airports my whole life looking at the boards. I always had an understanding of the world and different places in the world and different parts of the world, and I always had a curiosity about them and what do people do? What do they eat? What do they wear? Is it like it is here? And then when it comes to languages, I think that really started for me when I took Latin in high school, because for the first time, I had an incredible Latin teacher. And for the first time, I was able to see somebody who was multilingual. And I was able to see somebody who was able to use all these languages in their life and just kind of like, this was a real person. It wasn't a character. It wasn't like, some Cold War spy, James Bond, who could speak to people and morph into different personalities. Like, this was a real person that I could watch using different languages. And that was really important to me. And it it made me think like, well, if this person can do it, I can do it too. And it made me very curious and very interested in how languages are used and how languages are connected. And I've been just very eager to be someone who can speak more than one language ever since. Another question that I get a lot is, why did you start speaking tongues? And this is a loaded question. I'm going to make another video about this for sure. But the long and short of it is that I've loved languages for very, very long time. And I started out just being curious about how other people were able to learn different languages while I was here struggling. And honestly, I'm still struggling, but I have a lot more control over that now than I did 5 and 6 years ago. But I started speaking tongues as a way to connect with people through language. And it slowly, for me, morphed into something and a vehicle, an avenue where I can not only talk about language and culture with people, but also be a platform for language preservation and conservation and awareness. And that's become really important to me. So I'm going to make another video about that. Just have a look out for it. If it happens to be out before this video, I will put a link to it in the description box, but keep a lookout for it because I have a lot of thoughts about this podcast that I've created and that I love so much and I've put so much hard work into. And I think if you've ever listened to the show and kind of wondered what the origins were and what this purpose was, I will address that in that video. So I've been asked before, what are my goals with this show? And I actually was asked that question very early on, right in the height of the pandemic. And I didn't have an answer. And it's one of those things that I've been thinking about ever since. I think that there are two things that I can point to right now in this moment. And the one thing I want to do is connect culture and language in a way that hasn't been done before. I see people on one side making content about language, and then I see people on another side making content about culture. And I think my goal, my aim is to bring the two together and to show that they don't have to exist separately. They can work together and they influence one another. So that's one of my goals. And then I think another goal that I have with this show, honestly, we're building a brand over here. I really want to turn this into a multimedia brand, and I have so many ideas and I have so many ways that I want to see this show impact the world and impact people who care about language and people who care about culture and people who care about food and art and travel. I have a lot of ideas about that. But that is the long and short of it. What I want it to be is that we're growing, and I want this to grow into a brand that celebrates all of those things. My questions are over here, by the way, so I don't forget. Um, how do I do STP 365? So if you follow me on Instagram, then you probably know over the last couple of years, I've done a monthly themed um, language prompt series that I've called 365. And basically, it's every day of the year. Every month has a different theme. And I post the rules in the comments. It's the same rules that I've posted in the comment section, in the caption, every year, every month. And people still ask me, how do I do this? I've had people say, this looks too hard. I've had people say, I don't have time to do it, or I can't commit to 30 days. It's all there in the caption, babe. Like, you don't have to do every day. It's not designed to be hard. It'll be hard. It will be hard if you make it hard, but you can make it as difficult or as easy as you would like. I leave them open-ended prompts, and I want you to use your imagination. I want you to use your creativity to express yourself the way that you feel like. So let's give an example. If I put the word light bulb, if you are learning a language and you don't know the word for light bulb, that could be your opportunity to simply learn the word for light bulb. But if you already know the word for light bulb in your language, think about what you can do with that. Maybe you have a personal anecdote that you can practice saying in your target language as it relates to a light bulb. Maybe you have a funny story or something, and you can practice saying this, but the story has to do with a light bulb, or there was a light bulb in a part of the story. Maybe you're learning a language and you're working on the past tense or the future tense. Okay, can you create a sentence, or can you write a little paragraph using this tense that's about a light bulb? Maybe you could take a picture of a light bulb that you saw and it was cool, and this is a cool looking light bulb, and you want to describe it in your new language. Maybe you want to draw a light bulb and you want to describe the tools that you use to draw this light bulb. Literally, the whole world is your oyster with this challenge. You can do it however you want to do it. So it's not too difficult. It's not too easy. It's supposed to meet you at your level. And if I say one word, if I say a short sentence, interpret it the way that you like, what you have time for. If you can do it today, but you can't do it on Friday, it's fine. If you can do it this month and you can't do it next month, it's fine. It's not supposed to be something that is putting pressure on you. It's supposed to be an opportunity for you to flex your creative muscle when it comes to learning another language. This is a question I love answering, and I've gotten this a few times. Who is your dream guest for this podcast? And I have a few. They are celebrities or notable figures, but if you've listened to the show for a while, you would know my number one dream guest is Mr. Trevor Noah. I'm such a big fan of his, and I'm such a big fan of his comedy and his insight, his societal insights. But also, he grew up in South Africa. I know that he speaks a couple of different languages, and I think that the way that he talks about language and his way of telling a story is perfectly suited for speaking tongues. So I would love to welcome Trevor Noah to have a conversation with me on the podcast. Honestly, I would love to have a conversation with Giannis Antetokounmpo. If you're a fan of basketball, you know who he is. He's a Greek-Nigerian basketball player, and he just seems like a really cool guy to talk with, and he seems like he's had a really interesting upbringing and professional career. I'd also love to talk with Lupita Nyong'o. I'm such a big fan of hers, and I love the way she tells stories, and I can tell that her life has been full of stories, and she's probably got a lot of amazing things to discuss. I know she's Kenyan, Mexican, and I don't know what other languages she speaks. Actually, I'm not sure if she speaks any Kenyan languages, but that's something we could talk about, right? That's something that we'd find out on the show, Lupita. And if there's anybody that you would like to hear on the show, leave me a comment and let me know. And let me know how to get in touch with them. That would help. The last question I'm going to answer, I get this all the time, and I love this question so much because I know it comes from such a great place from a lot of really terrific people. But one question I've gotten quite a bit is, when are you coming to my town, my country, my city, my part of the woods? And I've gotten this, people have asked me when I'm coming to Italy or Sicily specifically, or when I'll be back in Paris, or when I'm coming to Brazil or Australia or Uganda or Kenya, South Africa, heck, even California or Hawaii, etc. And honestly, the answer I have is not soon enough. I would love to come to all of your cities, all the places where I've been invited to and I've been told I should come and visit and get to see what it's really like. But that takes money that I don't have to produce this show. I need a sponsor. I need sponsorship for this show because I would love to take Speaking Tongues on the road. I would love to meet people where they are in their parts of the world and be able to have these conversations in a different way and show culture in a different way. So I'm saying this because, yes, I want to come to your city. I want to come to where you are. And if you think that you can help me find funding or find sponsorship that will allow me to do that, I will be on the next thing smoking out of JFK, because I want to take this show on the road. We have to make that happen. Let's make that happen together. If you have ideas, please DM me. Please reach out. Send me an email. Leave me a comment. Something, because I'm very open to that idea, and I really want that to happen. So, that's it. That's my list of FAQs. I might do a part 2 because, believe me, I've gotten so many questions over the last 10 years, and I want to be able to answer them all in one place, even though I usually answer people individually, but maybe it's helpful to have it all in one place. So if you've made it to the end of this video, please make sure that you subscribe, give this video a thumbs up. Leave me a comment if you have any other questions or anything else that you want to say or anything else that you want to ask me. I'm here. I'm around. So I look forward to hearing from all of you, and Speaking Tongues podcast will be back. We don't know when, but we will be back. So make sure that you're subscribed so that when new episodes come out, you won't miss any of them. They'll be right here on YouTube. See you in the next video.